Hi again then guys, and welcome to, of course, another special stage Route X speed setup, in particular this time for the slowest of the Tomahawks in terms of the Group X versions, because of course the Group 1 is actually a lot slower than all of the others. It's really good around corners, obviously, in Group 1, but you're looking at like 260 from that car, so it's not even close. This one, as I mentioned a few days ago in my tune for the GTSR version, can do 312, and of course you saw that from the thumbnail anyway. But if you haven't checked out my other two tunes for the GTSR and of course the X, you should probably do so. One of them does 342, the other one does 414. I'll let you guess which one's which. But as far as this one goes, there's not a huge amount you can do to it, obviously. The performance that it has from its power, though, is very impressive. For a car with 1,000 horsepower to do 312, that's fantastic, especially by GT Sport Physics standards, because that's less power than a lot of the supercars have anyway. So as far as the weight, you cannot lower that, unfortunately. Thankfully it's not too heavy anyway though. Traction control I would recommend having turned off as usual. Racing super soft tyres are the deal of the day. As far as suspension, you want to drop the back as low as it can go, raise the front. Then as far as the springs, as usual, it's kind of my signature setup when it comes to these ultra-fast cars. The highest possible frequency, which really helps out the Tomahawks with being more stable and less twitchy. Makes them smoother through the corner as well. I'd recommend 10 for anti-roll, then for the compression and the rebound on the dampers as low as possible all round, because, as I said with the springs, they're already so high, you don't really need the dampers to complement that. The toe is neutral, downforce cannot be adjusted, but of course you don't have the wings to worry about with this version, and you do still have the pneumatic boost. So of course you want to set up the button for that on your controller or on your wheel to be able to get the extra speed. As far as the diff, I'd recommend the lowest settings. Of course, if you plan to use it on any other track, you might want to change that, but for Route X, that's pretty much optimal. And finally, for the transmission or the gearbox, you want the fully customized setup. Auto setting of 311 miles per hour, of course. Then for the gears themselves, I'd recommend 3825, 2150, 1490, 1099, 848, 783, 638, and a final drive of 3. Now, just like my other two tunes for the GTSR and the X, this is also a 5-speed setup, because at the end of the day, if you don't have to use all the gears, why use them? You eliminate gear change time and it makes the gears longer, smoother, and you can build up more speed more easily. So 6th gear and potentially 7th, if you're behind the right Tomahawk, can be used for drafting, but you do 312 in 5th gear. So what you want to see is obviously us taking this out to Special Stage Route X to prove what it can do. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the funny thing about this particular Tomahawk is that although it's often underestimated, because it is the slowest of the 3 original Group X versions, I would say this is actually more of an OP vehicle than both of the others, because everyone knows how fast the Group X version, or not the Group X, but the X version is, because it's notorious for it. Most people know how fast the GTSR is, because it's extremely powerful. This one, though, I would say is more of a sleeper, because as I mentioned earlier on in the video, having 312 miles per hour of potential, and even more with slipstream, from a car with less power than most of the supercars in the game, including the LaFerrari and the Huayra, that is a serious weapon. This car is the one that you should be worried about in public lobbies, not the GTSR and not the X, because with the right driver who's got the right tuning, this car can be devastating, because it can slip under regulations for power very easily, and if you don't notice it's in the lobby, it can dominate. So it's a weapon to be used. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad thing. I would actually probably let somebody who uses this use it. I'd allow that because it's clever. It's a great car for its power. So if you decide to use my tune, I hope of course you have a ton of fun with it, win plenty of races with it, and of course click the playlist here on screen to see all of my other tunes as well, and trust me, there are plenty of them. But that's it for this build. I'll see you guys next time, and for now, as always, thanks for watching.